Namaste. Welcome back, beautiful souls. Today, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 Emperor cards. But before we get to the Emperor, there is one deck that was on my list to talk about yesterday that I completely overlooked, and that was the Herb Crafter's Tarot. And in reflection, while this card will not replace one of the ones I chose for my top 5 Empress card, I did want to share this card and just comment on its beauty, its the detail in this card, and read to you a little bit from the words of either, I guess it's Letitia Guthrie's words that are in this book. This is The Art of Joanna Powell Colbert. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit. And we see the roses, the bits and pieces of the roses, a heart-shaped honeycomb. We have wild rose, and we have a necklace with red beads. We have a triskelet of chili peppers. It's really, and we have a heart medallion here down in the bottom, just left of center at the bottom. And the piece here is the connection between perhaps the what would you call them? Well, we have the wild roses, but we also have the roses that are cultivated and cared for by the gardener. Sometimes those can be wild as well too, and the honeycomb, and the brilliance of the light, the sun that's in the background as well too. I just think this is a brilliant blend of the strength and the softness and the medicine of the Empress. And in the words of Letitia Guthrie, healing the heart heals the world. Learn to be vulnerable and yet strong, like the delicate petals of the rose protected by thorns. Roses uplift the spirit and inspire love. Embody sensuality in bold, vibrant ways. Let creativity and abundance flourish around and within you. Wild roses are prolific, creating food, medicine, and shelter for all who encounter them. As all parts of the rose contain medicine, and this is just brilliant, every stage of your life finds passionate expression. And that reminds me of a movie which I will name in just a second. Create, make, love, play. It is a fertile, generative time. And the movie I am thinking of is it's an English movie, and it does focus on flowers and the cultivation of the garden and the honoring of the crone phase as well. And I'm trying to think what it is. Helen Mirren is in the picture. It has a wonderful cast. It also has Julie. Oh my goodness. It might come to me by the time we're done here today. And there's this wonderful line from the movie where the husband of one of these amazing crones honors the final phase, or the richest phase of the flower as its most beautiful. And I just I remember that movie fondly. If anybody else can think of the name, please go ahead and put it into the chat or come back later. So that's my honorable mention, and I just couldn't not say something about this card. Good evening, Saskia. Namaste. All right, so let's go on to the Emperor. And I have, yes, that's it. The calendar girls. Thank you. Okay. This is the Crowley deck. And in this deck, very alchemical among other things. Hi, Dee. Where am I going here? Does emphasize the shape of the figures of the magician, the empress, and the emperor as Mercury and salt and sulfur, so that the glyphs, so the circular glyph of salt is here. We can see the glyph of Mercury in the magician and the glyph of salt in the emperor. And I was looking at the Gassman Tarot, because the Gassman Emperor is one of my favorites. And there's something I notice here about the shape of the arms, the roundedness of the arms, and how it's very similar. The way that the body of the Empress is forward facing, and we may very well see the glyph of salt in the Empress. And undoubtedly, we have a near identical posture and facing in this card. And I know there's a lot of chat about the legs and, is the emperor sitting on his throne or leaning on his throne, and what does that represent? And I have, oh my goodness, I have tapped into, and I never want to force layers on a deck, but there's this part of me that believes all of this alchemical and mystical esoteric interpretation has always been a part of the tarot and always was there. And it just really appeals to my sense of the way that the mysteries have always been available to us. And when a artist, a woodblock cutter, when somebody is inspired to create art, there's always layers of the mystic that enter unbeknownst to the artist. And so I just want to put that forward. Now, one of the things I love about the Gassman Emperor, it kind of reminds me of that that old couple that you see who, I don't know, it kind of looks to me like he's honoring her. He's offering her something. He's not necessarily holding up a scepter of power, but maybe acknowledging her strength as well with this very feminine symbol of a scepter in his right hand, perhaps somewhat softening the energy of his right side as well too. She definitely appears to be glancing his way, and it just really comforts me. I love it when I see this knowing and kind of magical connection between couples in their later years. So, yeah, I just offer that up. I know sometimes, there's a lot of people who absolutely love the Tarot de Marseille, and they work with it for its white space, for its foundational energy in the tarot. I mean, there's several reasons why people work with it. Often I feel like when I'm working with older decks, I'm tapping into a piece of the past, and I carry that energy in the deck. The deck carries that energy, and it helps me with readings. And yet there is definitely a beauty in the art of contemporary decks. So this is one of my finalists for top 5 for the Emperor. Okay. Now, these 3 decks all have something in common, obviously. And when I opened Tarot of Echoes, the deck on the left is Le Tarot au Ramour Étrange, Tarot of the Strange Branches. Center is the lovely Om Tarot by Darshani, and on the right is the Tarot of Echoes by Anna Turian. And there's something here that is... what I was going to say, when I opened Anna's deck, the one on the right, I didn't get it. I was sitting with it because I wanted to see something different. And then it was really powerful what I began to see and know, because it's something that I already know. And I may have addressed it yesterday. Like I said, I've said before, I always get my different broadcasts mixed up, so I apologize where and when I may not repeat myself. But the energy of the Empress and the Emperor is inextricable. The energy of the divine masculine, the divine feminine, the power of the mother and father archetype is inextricable. They are one. They are 2 sides of a coin. They are the yin and the yang. And in the card on the right, particularly, it's as if the Emperor emerges through the divine feminine. And I mentioned 2 words yesterday. One is Purusha and Prakriti. And these terms refer to the energy of the divine masculine and feminine, and the divine feminine as all that is manifest. So as they are the computer, the chair, the desk, the cards, everything that is around me, they're also the trees, the grass, everything that is beyond my window. And all that is unmanifest is the divine masculine, and yet somehow they work together in this dance of life and mystery. And it's just it's really beautiful how these 3 artists portrayed this in different ways. How in Anna's deck the mountains became almost a crown, and the rivers became a beard. And there's something, and I don't know if Anna is aware of this. Certainly Darshani would be, but the if you think, and I believe this is Shiva. No, this is Rama. This is Rama from the Ramayana. But if you're familiar with Shiva, the dreadlocks that are in his hair. Hello, Clevis. Did I say good morning to you? Good morning. Are symbolic of the river Ganga, the Ganges River. And now when I look at the water below his beard, I think, wow, that is really cool. That similarity there. And so when we think of the kingdom and the empire, that is definitely associated with the emperor. But if you look at it through these terms, that is the this beautiful symmetry, this beautiful harmony of the sun and the moon, the lunar and the solar, Venus and Mars. And this is the first astrological card if you're reading with astrology. So this is Aries ruled by Mars in most astrological systems. And so we have Venus and Mars represented in these two cards, as well as possibly Salt and Mercury. And the card on the left came to me in a very powerful reading recently, and just sent chills, shivers through my physical body, and reminded me that to be the emperor of one's life need not be loud or boastful or aggressive or any of those sort of power hungry adjectives you would put on the solar plexus chakra. It can be very much integrated, and I love the antennas on the head, the closed eyes. It just really vibrates something special with me. The sun is exalted in Aries, and so the having the daylight. I mean, this whole deck is pretty much nighttime because it's a very lunar deck, but we do see an aspect of day or sunlight in both of these, and the sun, I think it energizes both the divine masculine and the divine feminine as they dance together, as they weave together in these cards. So pretty powerful how similar the lovely Om and the Tarot of Echoes are, and how those, and I wonder if Anna has seen lovely Om Tarot, or if this is something that just emerged for both of these artists, and really all three of them. So let me know what you think there. Okay, so this is a Tabula Mundi. And I had the Empress card from this deck yesterday on the table. This is by Melmeline. I did also choose some Rosetta Tarot cards, which will come out later in the series. And I really like both of these cards. And Mel has incorporated this the bees in the Emperor card as well. I love the humility in this card. The way that the Emperor kneels before, and I don't know if tame is a good word, but there's this idea that the fire, right? The fire creates smoke, and the smoke calms the bees. So I want to read this to you in her words. The Emperor seeks to order what the Empress creates. Nature creates the honeybee. Man seeks to hive it and tame it with sacred fire. This compulsion to order from chaos And the rule of mind over nature is represented in the compass and the square, symbols of the grand architect of the universe and his desire for structure. So a card loaded with symbols. And I think we need to look at some of the words carefully and maybe even choose to reflect on what the ordering represents. Because we all know that getting lost in a Venusian experience can take us on quite a trip. And so what I was saying earlier is that there's this quality of the Emperor that brings out the best of the Venusian energy and harmonizes it in some ways. So they both come closer to the center. In the Philarcos Tarot, we see mirrors. There is a mirror behind the Emperor, which reflects the cosmos, and a handheld mirror in the foreground, in the bottom right, that reflects the self. I know I've heard some people describe it as an egg. But there's something similar here going on in that what is reflected is the Empress. Because what will show up in the mirror is what is manifest. And if you think about it in those terms, it's really quite extraordinary how, and also I'm really impressed with this card, the way that his power and strength also shines through all these green and natural colors. I find this a kind of a haunting Emperor card, and the power of the symbol of mirror, I think, may also help to tame him, so that, or tame them, or tame the archetype, so it doesn't become, go too far in that power hungry, power monger kind of energy. I have always loved the Emperor card in the Marielle. And as I mentioned, it is one of my, it's just a big heart deck. One to be explored. Hello, Arya. One to be explored through one's lifetime. I mean, I did a deep dive, and I had been reading with it before that, and I feel that more and more is always revealed in this deck. And there really is a sense of harmony. There are symbols for each of the elements here. There is a sense of loving kindness and wisdom. Yeah, there's so much experience in this card. The word husbandry comes to mind. Thank you. Thank you for that. The path of the Emperor and the place of the Emperor in the Tree of Life varies from the way that different deck creators envision the tarot. Yet there is one thing that is common is that the Emperor is the number 4, which connects us to the planet of Jupiter for the most part in the 4th Sephira on the Tree of Life. And I say that because there's so many historically, astrologically has changed through the centuries. And in this deck, Marie White refers to Sumerian astrology, Babylonian times, goes way back, and the deck is not based in Golden Dawn associations. However, she does discuss Jupiter and as number 4. And there is an association with Hesed as the first Sephira where everything becomes manifest. We are out of the supernal triangle, and we begin to see the results of God's love, the results of our trust and faith and energy. And there is a sense of loving kindness as well here. I can also draw a line to Jupiter as guru, and I think of some really amazing gurus who I see this clarity in their eyes and can bring in all kinds of associations, wanting us to expand and see ourselves for the greatness that we are. And so I think there's a lot of possibility in this card. And while I don't have 11 or 12 cards like I had in the previous ones, I think the ones that I've chosen really kind of tap into something for me that is really important in the Emperor card. I did want to share a few words of Marie White here, just one sentence or so. Like, excuse me, like King Arthur or the Fisher King of legend, he is the land. Ooh, and I should have just put this one out here, or this one. Like King Arthur or the Fisher King of legend, he is the land, and he and the kingdom are one, as if his own body were divided up into mountains and plains, oceans and deserts. The fate of the land is his fate. And while that statement doesn't acknowledge the relationship between the goddess as the land and the energy to expand and control it as the divine masculine, there's something about the Emperor's connectedness to all that he is. So, yeah. And D says his deep mystical stillness holds the natural chaos of life. All right, so from these few cards, my top 5 are there are 2, 3, 4. One, and again, these are in no particular order. alive. Thank you. I will be back tomorrow to share with you my favorite fifth arcanum, and I do have a slew of cards to share with you. I just want to say, the Fisher King was a flawed, wounded king. Yes. Oh, that. Oh my goodness. That is a huge can of worms. And I don't know if you remember that I said I was going to do a bit of more of a podcast style series on Arthurian, the Legend Tarot. And I still contemplate that, and which card I am going to begin with. And I use this like I am doing this. And I am going to begin probably with the Ace of Cups and talk about the Grail legend and approach the podcast from that part of the story. So your comment here takes me back to that. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I can put those. It's an interesting contrast, and I don't know if I would say that the Emperor is the perfect masculine archetype. Maybe I guess in his highest frequency, in the highest energy. And for sure, the Fisher King was wounded and equally flawed. Yeah. I think that would be a discussion for a very potent chat. And maybe we can include that when I get to that series. Yeah. Okay, thank you all for being here, and those of you that are coming back and leaving comments, you're very much appreciated as well too. Take good care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. Namaste.